So when they said that this crossover is laying down the groundwork for next year's crossover, they weren't lying with that ending to Elseworlds. So guys, together let's break down and review and go over Elseworlds Part 3. So what is up, people of the Arrowverse? Welcome to my Elseworlds Part 3 review and breakdown. And now the crossover is at an end. And I have to say, this is my favorite crossover to date. Now, I do want to say that with a bit of context in terms of I love the other crossovers as well. They're better in some ways, but I think it's just the grand scale and universal balanced threat kind of thing that they've introduced into the Elseworlds crossover, and how this is going to connect to next year's crossover, like a lot of us thought, is what's making it hype levels 1000 for me. So before I get into all of the details for this episode, guys, and then kind of talk about the crossover as a whole, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to stay up to date with more comic book nerdy videos just like this. And of course, if you do go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. Also, since so many of you loved the Batman Christmas jumper, we have got a Flash one. And yes, I'm using the Flash hat again because I still need a haircut and it's way too long. So this hat has to stay for a little while. So right at the beginning of the Elseworlds crossover, everyone, we had Dr. John Deegan doing the intro. So last episode we had Barry doing the Oliver Queen, my name is Oliver Queen, slab side, blah 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 intro, kissing Felicity, all that weird stuff. And now we have John Deegan saying, my name is John Deegan and I'm from Gotham. I think that's a nice touch. They didn't have to do that, but I like how they throw that in there. But in this tease anyway, towards the beginning, we learned that the black suited Superman is Dr. Destiny or John Deegan. I actually didn't see that coming. And I'm quite happy with that surprise in both. Like, it would have been cool to see Dr. Destiny do a lot more cool stuff, especially with his comic book look that he gets later in the episode, which I can't wait to talk about. But you know, I still really liked how the black suited Superman was a rewritten reality version of John Deegan, because he's very disturbed, very mentally screwed up with all the experiments and everything that we don't need to get into how disturbed Dr. Destiny is. But with rewriting reality, what I liked with what they did with the story is that he kind of wants to be a hero, but it's one of those skewed perception kind of things. So that's why he made himself Superman, and that's why he got everyone at like S.T.A.R Labs to worship him, or just say, oh, you are too powerful, Superman, and blah blah blah. But 1 second I want to talk about and dedicate a moment's silence towards. So it turns out that 90s Flash did not return this episode, and he got clicked out of existence from our equivalent of Thanos. I'm joking, he's not the equivalent of Thanos. How could I say that? Obviously the Monitor. Quite a few comments and liked comments in my previous comment section from yesterday's Part 2 review. People were like saying, where's 90s Flash? Did he get Thanos snapped or what? And I thought, okay, just got teleported to another place, just like Kara did. She zoomed towards him, she got teleported back. But yeah, Earth 90s Flash is just... what an unsatisfying ending for that character. I mean, they could have done something with him in this episode, but they didn't choose to. Maybe it would have been too overpowered having another speedster. Maybe the Monitor didn't get rid of him. Maybe he did, because since Earth 90 was gone, it failed a little bit in the Monitor's view. That's just a bit of tough luck. So maybe he was just like, since you're a remnant from Earth 90, you also need to be wiped from existence as well, since you failed. Earth 90 failed. But then again, the Monitor could have just blinked him into existence, like in Hawaii or something, and he could just be enjoying like a nice pina colada on the beach. You never know. You never know. Anyway, going back to the kind of Superman and S.T.A.R Lab stuff side of that, Kara was captured. I really liked the Alex Danvers moments of this episode. I was questioning first of all, so I was like, oh, is this Alex Danvers of Earth 1? So it must be, and it was. We kind of got that like Lasso throw to us from Kara in terms of the whole Kryptonian pod thing. She was like, oh, I guess my pod didn't land here, so you grew up without the sister that is me, but like, you know, on Earth 38 with sisters, blah blah blah. Kind of like that, because I feel like Supergirl and Clark should still be on Earth 1 somehow, but they have kind of come out and said now the pods or whatever just didn't land. I'm guessing the same applies for Superman. I'm guessing like in an Elseworlds story itself, they might have landed on a different Earth or a different country, and they might be top secret still, like in, I don't know, France or Germany, but that's like a Crisis on Earth X kind of story with Superman, so whatever. Now, one thing you may find that I keep saying in my reviews or just about Elseworlds is that what I love about it and what attracts me so much to the seriousness of all of this and the gravity of the situation is that this is Crisis on Infinite Earths level shite. Like, literally is setting up for it, and I'll talk about all that later. But one of my favorite moments is from the episode is when the Monitor talks to Barry and Oliver on his little monitor stand in the universe. So like that's where he just chills and he's just looking out at each galaxy, waiting for the anti-monitor to come. I'm guessing, well, you know, I'm joking, but either way, that's his station, I guess, if you will, in space. And the monitor said that he's impressed. I love how Barry corrected the monitor by saying Superman isn't 2 words, it is 1 word. Overall, this kind of was just like a checkpoint / pep talk. Not necessarily pep talk from the monitor, but just like saying he's impressed. You are kind of like, out of all the Earths, the only people who've kind of got this far. Let's see how you do. Don't forget, as I've kept explaining, he is beyond good and evil. So sometimes he does appear like not necessarily good, not necessarily evil. I guess kind of like in the middle, arseholeish in a way, because he does even say later on in the episode, it's like, well, I guess I'm the closest you can get to a god, so, you know, call me God or whatever. But like, he's only really doing it because like the anti-monitor's coming. So all like funny shit aside, or even like one Earth dying, it's inconsequential to him. Even if that's really bad, like a whole planet just died, a whole reality. He needs to find one, like Earth 1, that will peek through all the struggles and the trial that they're up against with Dr. Destiny so they can face the anti-monitor. And that is exactly what we've been through with the Elseworlds crossover and why our hero succeeded. But anyway, nice little checkpoint. Cool little universal thing that happened there. And that's what I love about this storyline in particular. Anyway, with this crossover, of course, we had the Trigger Twins. Reality was changed again, as I already spoke about. We had the black-suited Superman, which was John Deegan, and we also had the crime lord Cisco Ramon. This was all pretty cool. We learned that Cisco breaches into bank vaults with his powers, and in this reality, like I guess like Cisco could easily do that and get away with it. But either way, fast forwarding here, Barry and Cisco essentially convince him to breach to the Fortress of Solitude on Earth 38, something this Cisco didn't even know he could do. Like other Earths, breaching to other Earths was definitely a new thing. I liked in this conversation as well how Superman said that he's been across books like this before, he's come across books like this before, and it's not like rewriting it kind of like, oh, I want John Deegan to stop being evil kind of thing. It's like you do it with your mind, and that is exactly what happens. And we even see Kara at one point in the episode look into the book, and she can't even like fathom it for more than 3 seconds, so she needed like Clark to do it, and Clark just bust it at that point. But just talking about all of this anyway, we get to the point where Superman and gang breach in and face black-suited Superman. He's just like, nice suit. And I do want to just reiterate again, Tyler Hoechlin's Superman has been one of the highlights of this crossover for me. Not only because I find him a really good Superman, I know not everyone agrees with that, but I just feel like obviously he's not in Supergirl all the time, if hardly at all, and whenever he is in it, it's kind of a treat. And the fact that he was featured quite a lot in this crossover, not so much obviously last episode, but it was just really, really cool because I feel like he is a great Superman, and what he had to do this episode were many, many Superman-esque kind of things, and I feel like it blended very, very well. And I just loved his interactions with the other characters like Barry and Oliver. Like, you saw Superman at 1 or 2 points not know what to do, like, and looked really, really worried and concerned. Like, for example, when they were in S.T.A.R Labs and he was talking to Oliver about Kara and Barry dying, about running around the worlds in opposite ways, he was just like, but what about this? And it's just so weird to see Superman that vulnerable, and Oliver just an ordinary bloke, but like a vigilante, having to take the helm, and that's what he did when he went to speak to the Monitor, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. Now, Superman was getting his ass kicked by John Deegan's black-suited Superman. Now, I said to myself, I wouldn't believe this if it wasn't for the fact that John Deegan rewrote reality, so I'm guessing the comic book logic, as I always like to say, I will make a shirt with that eventually, since so many of you have requested it, but the comic book logic to this is essentially that you'd have to think John Deegan wrote himself as the black-suited Superman, but also 1 tier up from Superman in power. So that's why he was getting his ass kicked throughout buildings, and I thought these effects were good. Anyway though, guys, moving along, Superman manages to rewrite reality so Barry and Oliver return back to their normal selves. Now, when Oliver came in with that kryptonite arrow, I freaking love the look of that thing. It's so cool. Where did he get it from? God knows. He had one before, so whatever. He managed to get a hold of one this time to use it against John Deegan, but that is when Barry was just like, no, do not use your darkness or embrace your darkness just to save me. You can be better, kind of thing. Now, somehow in the midst of all of this, John Deegan got the Book of Destiny again and was rewriting reality. Now, what I found really cool about this is like when you're creating something in a video game or your character, you're flicking through the options and it changes till you get to the one you want. S.T.A.R Labs was changing logos a couple of times, and it even went to like the SS Crisis on Earth X logo, which I found pretty cool. So it's like, as I said, flipping through the in-game menu options through the book and then trying to find the right one. So it's quite cool how they displayed as of when I'm guessing he was rewriting reality. Now, I absolutely loved the stakes of the idea of Barry and Kara running around the Earth really fast. Well, in Kara's case, she was flying in opposite directions to slow down time to prevent John Deegan from rewriting everything so fast so everyone else could get to him. I love this because in Crisis on Infinite Earths, it does mirror like the kind of consequences that Barry suffers as well as Kara in that storyline. Obviously, we're not at Crisis on Infinite Earths yet, and all of this was prevented anyway, but it was still like a cool foreshadowing as to what kind of happens in that story for these two characters. Obviously not the exact same thing, but still very, very cool. And this is what I was on about with Superman's kind of very big concern. And like, he's Superman, he's great, right? He can do anything, but I love seeing not weakness, that's a wrong word to use, but vulnerability in characters as powerful and as wise and everyone looks up to as Superman. And that is when Oliver, a normal guy, as I said, a vigilante, took the helm of this decision, and that's when he went to go see the Monitor. Yet again, another very, very interesting thing I think we all need to keep an incredibly close eye on. Now, what I found so compelling about this scene between LaMonica Garrett and Stephen Amell as their characters, the Monitor and Green Arrow, is that Oliver went up to him and was just like, I bet, no one else in any of the multiverses has come up to you and confronted you like this, but I'm doing it, and I don't care. You're probably just here to see if we're good enough, right? And the Monitor didn't give too much away. He is kind of, as I said, like, not without emotion or anything, but he is borderline robot-y in terms of beyond good and evil. Like, it's inconsequential to him. It's like almost watching an ant colony, in terms of importance to him, but he doesn't want all the ant colonies to be wiped out. That's a terrible analogy, but that's how he views, I think, us humans in a way. But the thing, guys, that I think everyone needs to keep an incredibly close eye on, or maybe ponder for a little bit, is that should I say, Oliver is the one who prevents Kara and Barry from dying and essentially disintegrating. And that's because he went to the Monitor, and I believe the Monitor did change it, but he did say, like, with one change requires another. Now, I think that when Oliver was granted that weird like arrow of destiny, so when he shot the Book of Destiny, that's why that like wiped that whole thing out, and the Monitor 100% gave that to him, and that was like a really, really cool moment. But I do temporarily want to skip to that moment right at the end of the crossover when Barry and Oliver were talking. That is because Oliver made a toast to appreciate what you have, however long you might have it. Now, I don't know if I'm saying utter crap here, but I'm thinking the balance the Monitor were talking about, one change requires another. Essentially, the universe needs balance. So Kara and Oliver surviving in this Elseworlds, running around the world when they should have died. The Monitor probably told him, look, if you're going to do this and I'm going to do this, you need to offer something else that I can do that will take away maybe 2 other lives, or at least something else as significant. So you'd have to think, maybe what I'm trying to draw the conclusion here, and you've probably seen it coming, is that Oliver says, okay, wipe me from existence next year, maybe in the Crisis event or whatever. And this is all possible, I think. Bottom line, I do think that line and that toast Oliver made to Barry by saying, to appreciate what you have, however long you might have it, could just be a simple line, but I do think that it was in reference to the deal he may have indeed struck with the Monitor to, in fact, save Barry and Kara's life. The universe must be in balance. You have to think, since it still goes unanswered right to this very moment I'm talking about this review, what else was taken away to keep Kara and Barry alive? That never got answered. So I think it might indeed be this. But anyway, as a result of this happening, Dr. Destiny got his comic book look, and I couldn't have been happier with it. It is really, really cool. It is slightly different, but like, it is really, really cool. I'm really glad. When he was laying there on the floor, I was like, please don't be dead. Don't get your look when you die. But as we know from towards the end, he didn't die and he's in Arkham Asylum. And Lois and Clark, guys, are going to have a kid. This is amazing. I really hope the Arrowverse does go on for quite a few more years. Like, I know there's new shows being in development, and we got Batwoman, that's not even been made yet for season 1, but is shooting its pilot sometime next year. So I really hope this comes to fruition. Lois and Clark are going to Argo. Supergirl is going to be the Kryptonian of Earth for quite a while. Clark did say it is just for a while. He's hanging up his cape. But you'd have to think, with a super baby kicking, that is going to be very problematic for Lois Lane. So he probably wants to be there for his wife. Fair enough. I found all of this very sweet. And yes, in the Fortress of Solitude, when he proposed, that was wonderful. I love Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane. She's 100% sold me. Clark, Tyler Hoechlin as Superman. Need I say more? Like, I'm sorry, It's very good, love it all. Now this ending, guys, was freaking huge. I didn't expect Batwoman to be calling Oliver. I find that pretty cool, you know, vigilante to vigilante, but I like how Batwoman was like, you know, don't tell me this deranged doctor of yours is going to be a bigger problem, like, for me, because I've got enough shite to deal with after you guys tripped up in my city. But that is when we see Dr. Destiny in Arkham Asylum, and that's because Batwoman was calling Oliver because he's made a new friend, none other than Psycho Pirate, and I did not think that we would be getting this line so soon. I thought they'd bring this Psycho Pirate actor and everything back for the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline next year to say this line, but he says the very words, you know, the stage is set, worlds will live, worlds will die, and the universe will never be the same, and that is a quote out of the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, where Psycho Pirate can remember everything that happened. Now, I'm not sure how they're, like, swapping that over to, like, how it's happening, how none of that has happened yet, but I'm guessing, well, since, I'm just going to say it, we got that next year, 2019, Crisis on Infinite Earths, 110% confirmed, the greatest crossover, I'm sure, that will ever dawn TV screens. So that was an amazing tease. Obviously, Psycho Pirate was telling Dr. Destiny this because Dr. Destiny just had the chance to do whatever he wanted with reality and just got completely wiped by our superhero gang. But, you know, that's when Psycho Pirate's like, don't worry, mate, don't worry. Like, worlds are going to live, worlds are going to fall, like, it's going to be fine. But this is just huge news. I've been saying it for the longest time, ever since Guggenheim did say that this crossover is essentially setting up next year's crossover. I'm not saying, like, I called it or anything, but, you know, if you've been paying attention to the Elseworlds news, you will know that this has been a part 1 of a part 2 story. Even the fact of that the Monitor was getting involved. I was hoping for an anti-Monitor reference or something like that in this crossover. We did get that somebody more powerful than me and he will destroy everything is coming kind of thing, which is pretty cool. But like, you would have had to think with the Monitor being involved, all of that, you would know, if you know a little bit about the comic book storylines and that massive milestone of a storyline, Crisis on Infinite Earths, that this was leading up to it, and it is coming, guys. Either way, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this episode. I thought of this crossover as a whole, it's good. It definitely left a bit to be desired in some places, but then you're just kind of reminded that this is TV level stuff. They have only got so much time on TV, and they are tackling such a big storyline in their own unique Arrowverse way. I liked Crisis on Earth X, it was good, but it felt like mediocre to me storyline. It was cool, but like, and then you have like the Dominators, like Invasion, that was okay as well. Like, I'm not negating how cool they were, but for me, as I keep saying, this crossover's stakes and universal importance with our heroes combating this, Superman coming in, like the Monitor and everything like that, and everything else has just been the big thing for me, and I feel like they pulled it off very well. And of course, you know, Batwoman debuted, which was really cool. But other than that, guys, leave me your thoughts down in the comments below. Like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you did. Click that like button to show your support for the channel. Of course, subscribe for more videos like this. I should have a trailer breakdown for The Flash's next episode coming back in January. That looks really sweet, so keep an eye out on the channel for that. So all I have to say now, guys, is definitely let's start that conversation down in the comments below, discuss everything, and thank you so much for watching, people of the Arrowverse, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.